show what your name is. Do you have a man who you came with?
John, you ready?
Hey, we ain't even do an outline. I think we just gonna go because I think we both
We're
just
going for it.
we just going.
We got so much to talk about.
We got so much to talk about. This is exciting. All right, y'all. Welcome back, Street Academy Podcast, where we keep one foot in the academy and one foot
in the streets.
And we back, and we back, and we back, and we back. What's good, Amber K?
Man, I'm feeling good, feeling great. How are you? I'm that's just a standard. It doesn't even necessarily mean to answer the question. How are you?
Community though, because I know.
Because you know what
I already knew not to answer that. Yeah.
Yes, I'm feeling good this morning. It's a Sunday, September. I was just saying that I can't believe we're in September of 2021, 9 months of this year, and we're about to go into 2022 and still just feeling the effects of 2020. And yet at the same time, taking some time to celebrate and travel a little bit. As you all can see, our standard co-host, Jackie, our homie, she is not here again because she's still handling grown folks' business.
Yes!
One of those things where she got betrothed, and it was such a celebration. It was such a fun time. Went to that last weekend, and I'm just still feeling good about just that whole time. I got to go to Chicago for the very first time in my life, which showed me I really need to get around some more. I need to check out these 50 states, at least at a minimum.
Yes.
So I think just being re-inspired again to travel, because Chicago was such an interesting place. It's like it's New York, but with a completely different vibe. And I'm like, what is this? And so I'm just like, is that I feel re-inspired again to want to travel more, even though I've been wanting to travel. 2020 kind of, I think, made everybody just swallow that travel bug for a little while. But I want to go ahead and start trying to plan some things again. Hopefully the world will be opening back up, letting Americans actually travel. We'll see what happens with that, because America doesn't know how to act. But yeah, so that's where I am right now. I'm not feeling too shabby, trying to figure things out. But with that, I need to have some coins to be able to travel. And so that's why this conversation today is especially important for me.
Absolutely.
So that's a little hint of what we're going to be talking about today. But how are you, John?
Okay, so first of all, I'm extremely jealous because I did see those pictures of y'all in Chicago, and I was really, really mad I couldn't go. I had some personal things happening down here that prevented me from going. I had every intention of going and turning up with y'all in Chi-Town. Y'all look so amazing. I saw the African, the outfits, and I was like, man, this looks so beautiful. This looks just like Black excellence. Like, it looked like what I would imagine Adam and Eve wedding to look like just Black beautifulness. It was so dope. And so I actually had to stop looking at y'all's IG stories and the posts. I had to get off Facebook and Instagram because I was like, okay, I don't want to see anymore. I'm jealous and I don't want them to have fun without me. Wedding is whack, Black love is whack. And
down to Black love.
Right, down Black love. No, it was beautiful, man. I love watching y'all, but at the same time, I needed a break because I had been doing a lot for like the past 2 months. I had been doing a lot, and so I needed a break. My our guest left, but I'm pretty sure she'll be coming back. I needed a break. I needed to get my, get my finances, get my account back right the way it's supposed to be, and handling business. So yeah, I definitely need, even though I wanted to be there, I think it was good for me. So I'm excited now. And I'm excited today because the new Black Wall Street is opening up in Stonecrest. So I plan to go out there today because I think they're having
I thought it was open. Didn't it already have like a grand opening? Or this is like a soft
opening. They had a soft opening.
Oh.
And now they're having their big opening today. And so I'm excited because I'm going out there to see what they doing. So
okay.
Yeah. And so with that, we're talking about.
Sorry.
Oh no, you good.
You're back.
Yes. With that,
yes. Sorry.
About you needing coins to travel, me needing coins to support Black Wall Street, and all of these things, and just trying to figure out like how do we like basically we're in a stage in our lives right now, and I also think on social media as well, we're talking more about wealth building, way more than I remember us doing 10, 15, 20 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Black folks always talked about getting money, but how do we talk about building wealth? How do we talk about you know, starting a business, starting an LLC, all these different things? And so I'm seeing that now more and more. It's making me really excited. I've been following a lot of podcasts about that. Shout out to Black Wealth Renaissance. Shout out to other podcasts. I think another one is called Brown Ambition or something like that, that talks about building wealth. And so, hey, that's something that we're trying to do. And so, yeah, that is how we are transitioning today. How's my video doing?
Your video is solid.
It's solid. The audio solid too?
Yeah.
Okay. Cassandra, how's
So
it?
then what'd you say?
Cassandra's good. Okay. All right. Just wanted to be sure it was cool.
Well, then let's jump right into our first segment, which we call the Off the Georgia Dome, where we just talk for about a minute about the topic that we're going to talk about today. Like, what are our general thoughts, just straight off of our heads? And so our topic today is finances, wealth building, credit, the world of credit. What does all of this mean? What does it mean, people? And so off the Georgia Dome, what are our quick thoughts? I can start with mine, and then we'll go to John, and then we'll go to our guest co-host, and soon you'll find out who she is. So for me, I feel like credit, finances, it's something that has brought me tremendous stress. And I want to be relieved. I feel like the credit system is wonky. I feel like it was created to keep people down in a way. Well, no, I feel like it was created originally probably to be helpful. And then it kind of has turned into something that maintains. It's about debt management. And I don't know how I feel about wanting to manage debt as much as I just want to be free from it, because I've just been scarred from, namely, student loans. Student loans are my issue. And just because they're so large, it just makes me feel, in some senses powerless, incapacitated, a number of things. It's just a source of stress. Like, I feel like I walk around with the monkey of student loans on my back, and I feel like it definitely affects my quality of life. And it has been so stressful in some ways that I don't even want to deal with it at all. So I keep suppressing it. And of course that makes it worse, because what happens, the monkey gets bigger. And so it's just been something that I want to relieve myself of that. I want to live a happier life. I feel like with my focus of living more happily since the beginning of 2020, before the world went wild, my focus was increasing my happiness. And I know that I need to be able to deal with my financial health. I'm dealing with my emotional health, mental health, physical health. Financial health is a huge piece of it. And so I'm looking forward to our conversation today, so I can figure out some legitimate steps to move forward and get that monkey off my back.
Wow. Man. Okay, off the Georgia Dome. When I think about credit, I think about I don't have much thought about it. I'm literally just now learning about credit for real. The first time I really had an introduction to it was when I was trying to buy my house, and I couldn't because I thought I was doing the right thing about credit, and I wasn't. And I remember reaching out to Cassandra around that time, and she really helped me gain a better understanding about credit. And that was like maybe 5 or 6 years ago. So I was in my 30s. And then only recently I had another deep conversation with Cassandra, which caused us to want to bring her on the show and share her knowledge. Was because I was having credit issues again, and she helped me, and it, definitely increased my credit score, and is putting me in a position to do more things. And that was just off of one conversation. So I really don't know a whole lot about it. I'm still looking to learn more, but I'm realizing now credit is everything. And I didn't realize that until now. And it doesn't make any sense to be in my 30s and realize how important credit is. And this is stuff I should have been really thinking about. I had heard about it, but nobody ever really sat me down and told me and showed me. My dad told me a little bit when I was going off to college, but he just kind of said, listen, I'm gonna open this credit card, I'm gonna open this line for you, I'm gonna do this, but didn't teach me how to continue that when I went off on my own. So I didn't know what I was doing. When it comes to wealth building, like I said, I've been listening to podcasts and finances and things like that. I know how to work, I know how to make money, but I'm just now learning how to find ways to make money for myself. So starting my own LLC, finding ways to, use my LLC in ways to like help increase my tax write-offs and things. I'm just now learning how to do that. And I'm literally going on, pushing 40 soon, you know what I'm saying? Like in a couple of years. And I'm like, man, had I known these things, I'm just now getting a financial advisor. I'm just now putting myself in a position where now I can really think about what I can leave for my daughter. So all these things we're getting ready to talk about are good. And I just really, really wish I would have known earlier and I could be in an even better position. So I look forward to being able to talk to my daughter and tell my daughter all of these things when she's 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. So that's my Off the Georgia Dome. So with that being said, do we introduce?
Okay, Cassandra, yeah, for a minute, what's your Off the Georgia Dome?
Oh, wow. So I'm supposed to do this?
Yeah, like what do you think about just Off the Georgia Dome when you think about this topic?
Just like high level for a minute.
So I think that there is a lot of miseducation that happens when we are younger, and that we really, like John Grant said, we really have to start educating our children because we are only catching up. Our cousins of a lighter hue some of them are ahead of the game of us with this, but it is how to use it. Decisions, we have to learn how to be strategic and intentional, and it's not necessarily what seems popular that is the thing for us to do. We have to start thinking like people who are fiscally responsible and have or make money. So it's in our minds, we can get there. And so hopefully today we can cross some bridges and start some positive conversations, because this next generation can't make the mistakes we made.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. All right, well, let's get into this right now then. Okay, so let's start with Cassandra. Just tell us a little bit about your background. How did you come to get into finances and financial education?
Wow. So I am the youngest of 3 children, and my sister is like 6 years older than I am. So I heard her doing homework and all that kind of stuff when I was a little girl. So by the time I got to school, I kind of was a little bit ahead of the game. But I was a numbers person because she was a numbers person. So numbers has always been something that came easy. Math has just, it's just always been a friend of mine. So I've always loved math. Figured out that accounting was the area I wanted to go into when I was a junior in high school. Okay. And so I went to college and got a degree in accounting. And then just to address your student loan issue, I graduated from college with no student loans and no debt. So that's one thing. But I have a bachelor's degree from Georgia State University. I majored in accounting, got into corporate America, kind of made some decisions moving around about things I wanted to do, and ended up transitioning into financial systems, which is the software that companies use to do their accounting. So I'm no longer the accountant doing the books. I'm the person who's there to talk about the software that does the books. So I'm a financial systems consultant, and I've been a consultant for, I guess I'm on 20 years now. Didn't think it was that long. 20 years now. I've had my own business since 2015. So I am an independent contractor. I've been with one client now for like 14 years. They've treated me well. They're an international company. And so I do all kinds of special projects for them. In that, I've also had to learn more about money, but having the accounting background kind of gave me an in on some stuff, you know. Accounting and finance are different. Let's just be clear.
Right.
I can't come to you and tell you about how to, invest in stock or any of that kind of stuff. I'm not a finance person.
Okay.
But having a command of understanding taxes, understanding how to manage your money, that kind of thing, definitely. That's how accounting has helped. So I'm still learning as well when it comes to businesses and wealth. But that background that's kind of got me where I am today has been helpful. That's my story.
Okay, so then you would say that for you, your knowledge of taxes, I guess the credit system as well, just financial management in general, is that where you feel like you have strengthened in terms of, or like you have insight into?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, so when you, if you're not a numbers person, it's a challenge, right? So credit is not for the fiscally irresponsible. Let me start out by saying that. If you have no self-control, if you are undisciplined, if you are irresponsible, credit is not for you. It will not be your friend. It will be your enemy, because you have to be responsible and you have to be intentional when you do things with credit, because it can drop for, like, say you go to get a car loan. Credit is a difference between you paying 5-6% and you paying 20-something%. So, but if you are responsible and you can keep your credit score at a good point, you can travel, you can do all the things you want to do. Credit is your friend.
Well, okay, so let's talk about that. Let's start there. Credit is our friend. Is it? Tell me about credit. What would you say is one of the myths that people have about just the credit system? Because one thing you started with was saying that there's so much miseducation about credit, and I know I've been miseducated. So what's like one or two of the myths that you know are out there about the credit system that you want to dispel right now?
Well, I mean, one of the things that, for example, that you said in your Georgia Dome moment, credit is bad, it is against us. Credit is a structure that you have to either use for your benefit, or if you don't know how it's used, then it is bad for you. Credit itself is just a structure that's put in place to allow people to spend money that they may or may not have right this moment. Right? That says, you know what, if I want a car, if I want a house, if I want someone to grant me an expense that I don't have all the money for, that's all credit is. It doesn't have its own personality. It's us that determine whether or not we are able to use credit good or bad. The credit system is just a structure. So the miseducation is that it has some evil of its own. It doesn't. We have to be educated in how to use credit for our benefit. When we know nothing, we make all those terrible mistakes that makes credit hurt us. When we're educated, then we can use that system to our benefit.
Okay, that's fair. Well, I guess I still want to know, I feel like, and this is a feeling, not necessarily complete knowledge, because I've like read and then not read and then whatever, but it's like the system does seem to privilege those who have money already, or privilege people who already are coming from a place of wealth or a place of means. Would you say that's true, or would you say that it is just neutral? Is the credit system neutral?
Credit system is neutral. It's all depending upon what you want and whether or not you want credit. Here's a good example, right? You have no credit whatsoever, right? You're a blank slate. You go out, you apply for a credit card. Chances are you're going to get one, okay? Because here's how it starts out. When you go into college, every college student gets berated with credit card applications, right? Because the money structure knows that when you go to college, you need money, you're going to start spending money, And when you get out, the intention is for you to earn money. So they want to get you into the credit system as quickly as they can, right? So as soon as you graduate from high school, you're going to get berated with credit card applications. Ooh, use us, right? They're banking on the fact that you're young, you don't know very much. You're going to get a card, say, oh, I have access to $5,000. And you're going to charge that card all the way up. You don't have $5,000. You're not going to pay it. You're going to pay interest on those expenses, and you're going to keep that credit card maxed out, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's an uneducated credit person, right?
Mm-hmm.
The way that your credit score goes up is for you to manage the amount of your available credit so that it stays less than 30%. Right? So if I have a $30,000 credit card, I don't want to use more than $10,000 of that card because I want to stay under that 30%. If I stay under that 30%, my credit score will continue to climb and climb and climb. And when I apply for another credit card, I'm going to get it. Mm-hmm. It's an assessment of how responsible you are with someone granting you access to funds that you don't have.
Right. And so with that,
mm-hmm.
Oh, keep going. I'm sorry.
So the better you are about that, making payments on time, making sure that your debt to equity, right? How much of my credit I actually use, keeping that under 30%. Those are the things that keep your credit score going up so that when you want something, you have a good credit score. The max score is what, 850? You can keep your score above 700. Everybody thinks you're fiscally responsible. Mm-hmm. But if you charge those cards all the way up and you keep those charges high and you pay a lot of interest and you miss payments, it's not going to work that way.
Right.
Credit cards. We're going to talk about student loans because that's a little different animal, but go ahead.
Okay. So then I was going to say that because for me, in the way that I'm blending them together, I blend credit cards and student loans together because like you said, students graduate from high school and their 18, 19-year-old range, they start getting these credit card applications. And that to me seems predatory because they know that teenagers are not responsible. They're not responsible enough to make good credit decisions, to know how to actually use a credit card. And so then they end up being in a type of debt that they just didn't expect and that will be hard to climb out of for years and years to come. And so that's where for me, I feel like there's this shadow on the credit system because of how like credit cards are, or even how like for me, how I was presented with student loans, it was kind of just like, we're just trying to get into school. At that point, it feels like desperation to just, I want to clear, I want to start classes, I want to, be in the same year with my friends, I just want to move on. So I'm not necessarily reading all the fine print. I remember I went to Oakwood, they had in order to make sure that you could actually clear for your loan, they had this little session that you had to go to where they talked about stuff, but you just had to attend. Did you really have to understand what was going on? Not really. And I didn't. I was like 18, 19 years old. And at that time, I just ended up signing, in some ways, I feel like my life away, even though that might be dramatic, but signing my life away to just make sure that I can stay in school, not really understand the ramifications of it. So like for me, my introduction to the credit system, what felt more predatory than something that I could actually use and manipulate or leverage to put myself in a good financial position. And so it's going to be a real relearning moment for me to take on the stance that you have for the credit system, which is to say that it is neutral, that it is something that I can use. It's a mechanism that I can feel empowered to use instead of disempowered, because immediately I feel disempowered because of my entrance into it. So it's helpful for me to hear you say these things, and I'm going to try to keep that stance, although in another part of me is like, but systematically, I feel like systemic racism and the credit system just work hand in hand. They just work together. So I'm really going to try to take on this mindset of the credit system is neutral. So with that, you wanted to talk about how student loans are a little different from credit cards. So can you say more about that?
Can I just come in real quick because before we get to student loans, Amber. So and I really like where we're going with the conversation, and so I know there's some myths that people have about credit. I know some things, some myths that I took on about credit because of what I heard before. And it was, you don't want to have a high credit card bill. You don't want to put a whole bunch of stuff on credit. And then you end up, you hear these horror stories about people, taking years and years and decades to pay off these high credit card bills. And so for me, I didn't use my credit card. The first issue I had was I closed my account because I was told pay everything on cash. I was told that by Dave Ramsey. Black people, stop listening to Dave Ramsey.
Dave Ramsey was my issue too.
You don't know nothing about what we be going through, and that was the worst thing. That was well. A good thing about it was I started doing everything with cash. So to an extent, that was good because that forced me to be mindful of my transactions. But the worst thing that he said was closing that credit line account, because that messed me up for the next few years in terms of what I could do and what I could purchase. So stop listening to white people who don't know what's going on with us. Listen to black people who, because that's for people who got money, who got hundreds and thousands of dollars, and you know what I'm saying? And like wealth passing down. So they got family members who can loan them $20,000, $30,000. Most black people ain't got that. So don't be listening. Listen to our people who know what we go through, so they won't tell you that stupid stuff. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to go off on that high tangent.
Yes, go off on that. I did Financial Peace University as well. Did you do
Financial Peace University?
There were pieces of it that I think were helpful, but I think the most kind of insidious thought was that I need to beat the credit system. Like I need to get out of it. And so I did. So I didn't have any credit cards. I'm thinking I'm doing good because I'm like, I don't want to use debt.
You want to use credit.
I don't want to use credit, but it's like, I can do that once I have enough money to actually not use it.
Exactly.
I'm not in that place.
We not Dave Ramsey. They got millions and millions of dollars. He could be able to do that. You know what I'm saying? Or the people that he's speaking to, white people that got generational wealth coming in. You know what I'm saying? So that was one thing. But then I learned recently from Cassandra. So I opened my credit line, but I didn't use my credit card that much. I would do gas every once in a while, food every once in a while, and pay it off. And when Cassandra looked at my credit report, she was like, you don't even use it. And I'm like, yeah, isn't that a good thing? That means I'm not maxing out. And she was like, but they don't know that you know how to pay bills because you're not using it. You have to actually use it, put everything on it, and then pay it off. And I'm like, so wait a minute, you want me to rack it up to 500,000, maybe even $500, maybe even $1,000, $1,200, and then just pay it all off? And she was like, yes. So that it shows that you know how to pay off the things that you charge. But if you don't use it, yeah, you can have a credit line opening, but if you don't use it, then it's not gonna help you. Or it's not gonna help you as much as it could. So that was a new thing I learned. So it's like all of these different things that we don't know, that we're like torn away from credit because we hear all of these horror stories in our community about credit. Now we're realizing, oh wait, credit cards are good. We are supposed to use them, but use them responsibly. So yes, I can put $500, $700, $1,000. And I recently did that. I like charged it up to like $1,500, but then I paid it all off when I got the money to pay it all off. And so all of these things are like myths, you know what I'm saying, that are in our community that we now have to relearn, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know if you want to speak to any of that, Cassandra, but
I know that was a lot, but we all in here. We're talking about student loans, credits, everything.
So let me talk about the credit card thing, and then we'll talk about the student loan thing. So let's not get off credit cards yet. So I'm gonna tell you how I do it, right? Now, mind you, as I said before, credit cards are not for the irresponsible, right? I have several credit cards, right? I have a credit card that is just for when I go out to eat, right? That credit card has like a $5,000 limit. But for me, I know I never want to spend more than $500 a month, right? Which is 10% of that credit limit. So I use that card just to go out to eat. So everything I charge on that card is for food. So at the end of every month, my way of budgeting is I know I'm allowed only this much money on this credit card. I charge it this credit card. I pay that credit card off every month. I have another credit card that all of my bills go to, right? I charge my cable bill. I charge whatever my household expenses are that I can afford. We'll talk about budgeting a little bit later, but if I can afford it in this current month, I don't want anything through my bank account that is a monthly expense. Everything goes to my credit card. Now, that credit card is a rewards card, which we'll talk about with you traveling. It's a rewards card. So for every dollar I spend, I earn points, miles, or whatever, so that when I want to travel based on money I'm already going to spend, I charge it all to my credit card. At the end of the month, I simply pay that credit card off. But now I've earned dollars that I can use later. So when it's time for me to take a flight, my flight is free because I've earned enough points to earn me an airline ticket or a bus, or not bus, but a car rental or whatever, a hotel stay. We'll talk about reward cards, right? So I use those credit cards, but every month I pay off whatever I've charged, but I keep using the card. So let's talk about what the credit card companies what the credit industry is doing. So let's make a distinction between the credit card and the credit system.
Okay.
The credit card companies, they are preying on you because they want your money. The credit system is just an assessment of how well you're handling credit. So I know we think of them as one and the same, but they're not. A credit card is owned by some financial institution, somebody that's saying, hey, I'll give you some money as long as you pay me back at this particular interest rate. The credit system is just an analysis system. If you put credit out there, we're just going to give you a score that says how good or bad you are at managing this credit. So to your point, Amber, credit cards are preying on you, not because you're Black. Every college student gets credit card applications. The problem is oftentimes in our Black communities, we aren't educated enough. Our parents weren't educated enough, and they couldn't educate us to know how to get those credit cards responsibly. So the generational curses we're going to end is we're going to say, hey, when our kids go to college, yeah, you get that credit card application, but let's decide which credit card you want. Let's decide what credit limits you're going to get and how you use that card.
That's
right.
it.
Exactly. So the credit cards, they're coming. It's up to you to apply. It's up to you to charge. It's up to you to spend. The credit system is just analyzing and giving you a score based upon that. So one of the things you have to think about is which credit cards do I want? If you're younger, you want a card that probably has, not too much of a limit because you ain't got no money, but that has enough where emergencies, regular spending, you can keep, like I said, below 30% of that limit. You've got cards like Discover that are great for college students because Discover has a heavy influence on your credit score, that particular card. And so if you use that card well, your credit score will it will skyrocket. If you pay your Discover card on a regular, consistent basis, they report to the credit bureaus like they own them. So if you get a Discover card in college, the interest rates are normally low. I think they have some that they waive the annual fees. Discover it got me through college. I love Discover, right? I don't own one as an adult because they have better cards as an adult, but in college, it was a godsend. Couldn't pay a bill, put it on there, paid it off later, right? So it's about knowing which credit cards to get, and I would say having at some point a budget. Like we don't teach our kids to budget, but if you're going to go to college, you need a budget so you can know how much to spend, and then you can use those credit cards in your budget system to say, okay, put it on this credit card, pay it off. Put it on this credit card, pay it off, but you keep using it. Don't pay it off and stop using it. The this credit system is monitoring your use of credit. It's not monitoring your disuse of credit. It's saying, are you using credit? Yes or no. If you're using it, your score goes up. If you're not using it, your score is not going to go up. So the better you are of using it, the higher your score is going to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about types of credit cards. You have reward cards, for example. Like Southwest, Delta, American Airlines, they all have reward cards. For every dollar you spend, you're going to earn miles. You're going to earn points. Like I have a good friend that I work with. She has a Southwest card because her and her fiance travel all the time. They do like I do. They charge everything to that credit card and they pay it off every month. but they continue to use that card so that the balance gets reported to the credit card company. They always have a balance on the card, right? They monitor how much they spend, but every 6 months, twice a year, they're taking free trips to Brazil, to Punta Cana, to she went to South Africa, because they charge everything to this rewards card. So their trips earn them miles, their spending earns them miles. So if you're older and you want to travel and you have goals, get a rewards card. Let that be the card that you charge everything to. And that way you're earning miles that you can now go and travel with. And then your travel is free, you know? So it's about learning that. Now, I will tell you, if you go to a site like creditkarma.com and even freecreditreport.com, you're entitled to a copy of your credit report for free. Individuals are once a year, right? Every 12 months, you can get a free credit report. So it behooves us to kind of use those type of sites that credit. If we don't know, we live in an information age. If you don't understand how the credit
Cassandra, we lost you.
Cassandra, we lost you.
This is the man trying to keep us down.
Trying to keep us down.
I've never had these issues.
Man,
I'm so on the edge of my seat with this. Like, I need.
Man.
I'm like so ready.
That's all right. We're gonna work it out. But okay, so while Cassandra's getting that together, what I did want to say was, again, and she was kind of going into it, like, how do we check our credit? You know what I mean? Like checking our credit score and things like that, and looking at the report. So that's another thing that I definitely wanted to go into. Okay, we got you back, Cassandra.
Sorry. My internet just dropped out and had jumped to a different server. So for.com, write that down. Freecreditreport.com.
Freecreditreport.com. Y'all hearing that? Facebook, freecreditreport.com.
Freecreditreport.com allows you to get a copy and see the details of your credit report from all three of the credit bureaus. So that's TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. Okay. And you need to look at that, because as we experienced when we reviewed John's, there was some stuff on one report that wasn't on the other report. There's three of them. So you want to make sure that you kind of know what they all have on there, and you want to look at them and review.
And so with Credit Karma, can you speak about, like, I hear people saying sometimes like Credit Karma is trash. They'll have you thinking that your score is one thing and it's not. Is it good or not good to have a Credit Karma account?
So I have a Credit Karma account because they send me emails if my score goes up and goes down. So because I'm trying to like get more into real estate investing, and we'll talk about the importance of having businesses versus doing stuff as a person, an individual, because that's another thing we have to do. We have to learn how to create businesses, and we use those businesses to do things, right? I'm learning from the people like the guy who wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I don't need to own anything. My businesses need to own everything. As an individual, I need to be poor. My companies need to be rich, but I need to be poor. But so Credit Karma is just a flagger. It's just going to tell you did your score go up or go down, and it gives you a constant view of that score and a constant view of your credit reports, because you can go in there anytime and you can see what's on your report. You go in and check. It's a monitoring system, and it's a free monitoring system. Now, they will recommend credit cards to you. There is a time and a space when you want to get another credit card, where opening up a new line of credit will actually raise your score by like 20 points.
Okay.
Right? So, for example, say you have a pretty good score. You're in the 6 somethings, and you're using up a lot of, say, one credit card. Say you have a, $5,000 balance, a $5,000 limit, and you're using like $3,000 of that. If they will let you open up another card and give you, say, $7,000, you want to do that. You want to know why? Because now that means you have access to $12,000 and you're only using 3. See how that's less of the amount of money that you have access to. That in and of itself will cause your credit score to go up. Just that one move, by extending how much credit you have access to. If you know you're going to keep this $3,000 fluid and it's going to stay right here because you're going to pay that down gradually, get another credit card so that you're under that 30% and your credit score is going to go up. Now, you don't have to use that other card initially. You don't even have to use it. Just the fact that you have access to it is going to cause your score to go up.
What if you have no credit cards?
Then you have no credit.
Right. It's like if you have no credit cards, in my case, no credit cards, tons of student loan debt. What would you say would be the first move to make?
Look into student loan forgiveness. So student loans are just debt. It's not like you have a debt to equity ratio. Like there wasn't a limit that you have access to. This is, I owe this much money, period. It's not, it shows up on your credit report, but it's just pure debt.
Yeah.
So I would look at getting a credit card because it's a different type of debt. So credit cards are what they call revolving debt. Because those amounts come in and go out, right? And you can increase your credit limits and you can pay on them, and it shows use. A student loan is just an outstanding debt. It's not revolving debt. So I would suggest, if you're financially responsible, that you get a credit card so that someone can assess how well you use actual credit. Meaning you have access to this much money. Let's see how she spends. Does she pay this off? Does she keep her balance on this card, within a certain percentage? Because just having student loans doesn't do you any good. It just says that you owe people money, but it doesn't establish any responsibility on your part.
Right. And earlier you mentioned that a Discover card is good was good for like new college students, because it has a certain type of effect on your account, and you said there are different ones for adults. So I didn't even know that certain credit cards would, I guess, have a stronger influence on your credit score. Can you say more about that?
Yeah. So for example, TransUnion is one of the credit bureaus that a lot of people who are running your credit will use. It's kind of a popular one, and they rely, if you have a Discover card, they're going to look at your use of that Discover card heavier than what they look at for, say,
like Capital One or something like that.
Yeah, for some other credit card that you may have.
Why is that? Why is that?
So, I mean, Discover is an established institution. It's I guess it has weight in the credit world, especially for TransUnion. So when you have a Discover, but it's easy, it's very easy to get. Their terms are very fluid. They will work with their customers to make it. It's a card that you would think it's almost designed for students. It's there to help you get through the hard times. I can tell you, I've had some experiences. I got stuck in New York one time, and I was already at the top of my credit limit. I had to call them. They increased my limit to allow me to buy an airline ticket and get where I was going. So the credit card company itself, they work with their customers to get things done. They're very customer service friendly, and they're very reasonable. So the credit bureau looks at them with high regard. They have a reputation with credit bureaus. So if you mess up your Discover card, you've messed up your credit. Because if you don't make your payments on time, if you have a bunch of delinquencies, your credit score is going to drop significantly, because they carry a lot of weight because of how well they treat their customers.
Okay.
Right. So if you remember, I think when Capital One first came out, they had such a horrible reputation that, their credit cards were considered really bad. They had horrible customer service. People didn't want to get their cards. If you don't do so well with Credit One and, Capital One, it probably wouldn't have been too bad. It's not good, but it wouldn't have been as bad. But Discover has a long history, established reputation, rapport with the credit industry. So they carry a heavier weight.
Okay.
I think another thing that's important to know, and I just realized this, Cassandra, when I went to go pay my mortgage, mortgage lenders don't take credit card payments, because I was like, oh, I could pay my mortgage every month on my credit card, and that'll definitely help me increase my rewards points. And I went to do it, and they didn't give me the option. I Googled it and they was like, oh no, you can't pay your mortgage.
No, you
Credit
can't.
card. So it's like they still try to keep you confined on like what you can do, even when you trying to do it their way. It's like, well, why wouldn't you let me pay it on my credit card and then pay my credit card off?
Because it's already a line of credit. It's a loan. So you're just asking to pay one credit line with a different credit line.
Okay, got you.
So
okay, that makes okay. That okay.
right.
I can see that.
So in essence, so there's an avenue for that. So but it's not with mortgage companies because it's already a line of credit.
Right.
So yes, so that it's a good thought, but yeah. No.
So you mentioned, okay, keep going.
So I mean, there are times, for example, like if I know I have a big expense, I have a credit card that I don't normally use because they will give me 0% interest for balance transfers, right? So if I know I'm going to charge something and I'm not going to pay it off, and I need like a year or 18 months, I'll pay for it on one credit card, and then I'll transfer the balance to this other credit card because this other credit card has no interest. So they're going to give me a balance transfer with no interest for say 18 months. So it's not sitting on my regular credit card where I have to pay interest on it. If I don't pay it off the first month, I'll pay it and transfer it, and then I have no interest for 18 months. It's like same as cash. Right?
Okay.
So
I've never heard of that. I don't even know what that.
right. So I mean, so that's the education piece that we have to get into learning. Credit is not an enemy. You just have to be intentional about the use of your money, right? Most credit cards will give you a 0%, like Rooms to Go does this a lot. Oh, same as cash, 0%, well, credit cards do the same thing. If you transfer your balance to us, we won't charge you interest for a certain amount of months. Okay, well, if I know I can't pay this whole thing off in a month, well, then why would I leave it on a credit card that has interest?
Right.
I'm going to transfer it to a credit card that has no interest.
Right.
And pay it off over there, interest free. Don't keep it on my credit card with interest, because now if I charge $1,000, it's $1,000 that I'm paying plus any interest that I've incurred. Well, I only want to pay the $1,000. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a small transaction fee, but it's normally less than the interest you would pay if you took 18 months to pay it. So the transaction fee is nominal. So I'd rather put it over here. If I know I'm going to pay it off in a year, I just can't pay it off right now. Transfer it to the card. So I keep that card only for if I have to transfer a balance. And so maybe once a year, I'll get a charge. I'll take those 12, 18 months, pay it off, and then it'll just sit there until the next time something happens. Like when I had to buy 2 air conditioning units for my house. I don't have that kind of money. Paid for it on my credit card, transferred it over there, and took 18 months to pay it off. You see how credit was my friend?
Yeah. So what's interesting though, and I've heard like entertainers and other people talk about how credit is something that we need to be able to move past. So credit is kind of something for the working class, the middle class, but the point is, like, I remember hearing Lil Duval talk about it, and it actually sounded, and he's a rapper, he's a comedian, and so he has millions and millions of dollars, but he was saying that he's never used a credit card in his life. He's literally he purchased a plane, he got houses, he got his own property in the island, and he's never used credit. And he said, because I just use cash to do everything. Like if I can't afford it, I don't buy it. So if I can afford it, I buy it. That means I'm not going to get a $75,000 car if I can't afford it. I'm going to get a $30,000 car because I got $30,000 in the bank. And so my thing is, can we get to a point, and I don't know if it'll be in our generation or the next generation, where we won't have to use credit because we're paying in cash, because that makes more sense. Buy what you can afford, because some people argue that the purpose of credit is that people are getting what they can afford. For example, you need to know your credit score to buy a house, because you can't afford $150,000, $210,000, $250,000 right off the bat. So you get a credit, so you get a loan, and then you pay that house off in 30 years with a fixed mortgage.
Right.
So, but if we get to a point where we got money, then you could just pay off the car or pay off the house or whatever. So is that the overall goal, to get to a point where we won't need credit?
I think that's a personal decision, right? I think that's a very personal decision. I think at a minimum, we need to know how to have credit be a benefit to us instead of a burden. And if we decide, like he did, that he wants to not use credit, I don't think in our normal everyday lives we're there. We don't start out there. We don't kind of begin there. We may end up there at some point, but most of us kind of go through the first time I'm going to buy my house, I have to get a mortgage for it. We're not coming out with, okay, well, I got, this much amount of money. My parents my mother didn't even graduate from high school. My dad, we're not even sure, and so I was the first person in my family to go to college. So that was already a step up. And then to go from there to, what I'm trying to educate my daughter to do and how to make her do better than I did, it's a process. I'm glad he was able to do that, but most of us aren't in that position. We have to know how, if we're going to use credit, we have to make it work for us so that we're not the ones suffering from it, that we make the decisions that make it beneficial to us so that we can have the things we want and still be fiscally responsible. I mean, the Bible gives us a wonderful layout about we really shouldn't have any debt longer than 7 years. A 30-year mortgage, I know, is longer than 7 years, but for me, that's a goal. It's truly better to give than to receive. But the Bible says if you're going to have a debt, you shouldn't have a debt that lasts longer than 7 years. And biblically and mentally, that's where, I'm trying to make sure it's okay. I do have a mortgage on my house. It's more than 7 years. I'm like, okay, I need to get to the point where I can say I don't have any debt for longer than 7 years. That's a goal, right? Right now I got a mortgage. But so I don't think living off of cash, it's not a personal objective to me, but everybody has to make that decision on their own. I'm just going to use the credit for my benefit.
Gotcha.
Um,
Got you. Amber, did you want to go to student loans now?
Yeah, I'd love to go to student loans, but before we go there, I wanted to ask one more question about the different types of credit cards, because you mentioned, again, it's just like you have these credit cards that are like, I guess more, there's the credit system respects them more, like Discover. Then you said there's the reward cards. And then I know there's like some cards are issued by banks, other cards are issued by just like, can you tell us more about what the different types of cards are and which kind we should use depending on, what our financial situation will be?
Well, yeah, there's a plethora of them. So yes, banks offer them, but you typically have your Visa, your MasterCard, your Discover, and your American Express. Those are the main operators of credit cards, right? So American Express is the type of card where you have to pay. It's designed for you to pay your balance off every month. Right? If you have American Express card, a lot of businesses use American Express. It's prestigious, right? If you have American Express, they expect you to, have a certain level of operation and responsibility. The intention of American Express card is for it to be paid off every month because their interest rate is 20 something to 30 something percent. So if you don't pay the entire balance off, the amount of interest you're going to pay is not worth it to leave a balance on an American Express card. So, right. But that's very business oriented. So like when I had an American Express card, it was a card I had in my business's name, and it was for the expenses that I got reimbursed for my client. Right. It wasn't anything personal that I charged because I knew I turned my expenses in, they cut me a check. I knew I could pay all that off. So very more business related is an American Express card. Then you have a Discover card. So Discover is just a different, we all know Visa and MasterCard, right? Discover is just another card, hence its weight in the credit industry. Not everyone takes Discover. It's not as widely accepted, but it has a good reputation because it is a reliable card. And I think their transaction fees are pretty low as well. Right. So it's a different type of credit card. It's not your Visa. It's not your MasterCard. It's its own type of card. It's called a Discover card. So that's a unique kind of card. And then you get into the ones that everybody else is offering you, Visa and MasterCard. Those are the little symbols you see on your debit cards. And then who issues you that card is where you get all the different arrays. Your bank can issue you one. The airlines all issue one. American Express, Southwest, every one of them issues you either a Visa or a MasterCard. And then you have stores that offer you cards. So you can get a Sears, Citibank, major financial institution. These are the two governing types of cards that you see out there in the credit card industry. And it's just who's issuing you that card that determines the terms. Right? So for different credit card types, and then American Express is mostly business, Discover is just its own animal, mostly personal, and then you've got your major ones, Visa and MasterCard, and those are international. Discover, not so much international, some a little bit, but it's mostly it's mostly in the US, I believe, but it's not necessarily international. Visa and MasterCard are international.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes, that does help. And I'm just in terms of, are there quick points you can say about when you might want to apply for one or the other? Because it's like, as you described the American Express, I'm thinking like, if it has such a high interest rate, why would I ever want to use that one?
So
for a business?
Like I said, for me, it was a business card. I mean, my American Express had a $17,000 credit limit because if I'm on a business trip, 1 week of travel costs $2,000, right?
Mm-hmm. Is it because things like that, like American Express, you could probably,
and so I know I have 30 something days to pay it. Right. You have higher balances, but as I said before, that credit card is intended to be paid off in total. It's not worth paying the interest. The interest is 20 something %, depending upon, what the national interest rate is. But those interest rates are so high, it's not beneficial for you to carry a balance of any kind. If you're not paying that whole balance off, you're screwed. Right. But a lot of businesses use American Express. Corporations use American Express. If an individual uses American Express, you got paper. You got money to have an American Express card. Otherwise, the average Joe and Jane, we don't want one. If we just trying to figure out how to manipulate the system, we don't need an American Express card.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Right. So Discover cards, I would say, like I said, for Discover, I think a Discover is a great card for students. Now, let me caveat that because I've been out of college for a long time. The presence of a Discover card is not as prevalent as it used to be. So everyone does not accept a Discover card. Right. So I guess I'll caveat that by saying is if you're coming into college, I would suggest them trying to get a credit card when she goes to college, right? You need something in case of emergencies. If you don't have any cash, you need a way to get something paid, and that may help you in a pinch, right? It's not for you to go and hang out with your friends and go eat. It's not for you to go to the movies, right? off the bat, right? You need something that's for emergencies. Low credit limit, right? Low credit limit, not trying to give you a whole bunch, but just to teach you how to be more responsible. And then as you learn a little bit more, then we can get into, okay, charge everything, pay it off. But initially, I would say for college students, get a credit card, don't not use it. You can use it, but, be responsible about paying that off. Like if it's your card for gas, charge your gas on that card, every month pay your gas off. But at least that establishes your credit and teaches you how to be responsible. If you don't do well with that, until you can get that right, let's not try anything else, right? Now, there are some prepaid credit cards where they only allow you as much as you have deposited into some account. So you're like withdrawing in from those. That's for people who are fiscally irresponsible. If you don't have any self-control, that card is for you. You can establish credit within your limits, right? If you have no self-control. But if you have self-control and you have discipline, then I would suggest a college student get one just to learn the process. Keep it low. Use it for either one purpose or just emergencies, just to get you started on that road. But more widely used, to directly answer your question, either a Visa or a MasterCard, right? Like I said, my friend who uses it for travel, she wants to travel. If you have, something that you want to do, most of our credit cards nowadays come with rewards. So you could either get like a Southwest or a Delta rewards card. Citibank also does rewards cards, and those cards will just give you cash back. Amazon is affiliated with a credit card as well, and they will give you points and credits. So if you buy something on Amazon, you get cash back. And so that'll allow you to buy purchases in the future for free.
Right. Okay, gotcha. Thank you so much for that. Just thinking about those different types of credit cards was helpful. So now we go to like the juggernaut, which I feel is
Ooh,
student loans. Tell
this,
us anything.
this
What
is
is anything you can
I
tell?
mean, but let's start off by saying, right, like there's a lot of again myths and stuff about student loans as well. And we got, I mean, it ranges, right? It ranges from 10,000, 50,000 to 100,000. Some people got 200,000
Yeah.
dollars in student loans. And people are just like, what do I do? How can I live with this debt over my life? The one thing that helped me though, before we go to Cassandra, who's going to just break it down from the beginning. Like when we get the student loan, like don't even
when you don't get the student loan.
Right, when you don't get the student loan. But
go ahead.
Right. I mean, okay, so it's already too late for, like, I just realized I signed a student loan that was so bad for me. And I just realized that like a couple of weeks ago. And I'm like, man, I wish somebody would have told me. So this particular podcast, a lot of people who are people who watch this podcast are people who've already gotten a student loan.
Yeah, we're already there.
So it's like, I don't necessarily want to talk about, okay, how do we get around it? I want to talk about how do we manage what we already in it. Yeah. How do we manage that? The one good thing that I did find out, Amber, that was really good. I went to my financial advisor and I was talking about different things about the future. And I was like, well, what about my student loans? I need to have a large enough life insurance plan to take care of my student loans. And she was like, well, the good thing is if you die, your student loans die with you. So as long as you don't have somebody who signed off on it as well, a co-signer, then you're good. Those student loans, like your child, your children don't have to worry about paying that off. And
shout out to my sister who co-signed all my loans, and I also co-signed all of hers. So sister, we're SOL. But thank you, because I needed it, because if I was 19, I wouldn't have been able to get it without you, sis. Thank you.
Thank you. But that's something that, that's something to think about though. Like, you know what I'm saying? As long, that's something that you don't necessarily have to pass on to your kids. So that's a debt that goes away with you.
Yes.
But I don't want to have to die. You know what I'm saying? So that's debt,
like planning on faking my death now.
Tupac.
You did not say Tupac.
How do I do this?
How do I fake my death? Google.
On camera. Oh, looks like
Black Machiavelli.
On camera. Oh God.
No more. What are your words?
I'm going down. Yeah. So.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So tell us, how do we manage this thing?
Okay. So I'm gonna say my preface, and then I'm gonna talk about how to manage. Okay. I'm gonna tell you what I told China.
Yeah. China's her daughter. How old is China? What, 17?
China is 16. She'll be 17 in 2 months. Okay. She's a senior in high school. Okay. She came home from school the other day and she was traumatized because the school was telling her how she has to get all these student loans to go to college. And she was like, Mommy, they were telling us that we have to get student loans and we're going to get all this debt and we're going to do all this stuff. Oh my gosh, it's just so much. It's just so much. And I was like, okay. So what I told her was, first of all, I'm not co-signing any student loans, right? So let's just be clear about that off the bat.
All right there.
Right? I graduated college debt-free, and my intention is for you to graduate college debt-free, right? And we can work on how to do that, right? But you have to be intentional. Like I said before, it's not just here we are. You have to make intelligent decisions, right? About where you go to school, about what you're going to study, and about how you're going to get financed. I mean, I'm not in a tax bracket that's going to give China a bunch of government funding, right? They're going to say, oh, your mom makes enough money so she can pay for your college, right? Okay, but I'm not doing that either, right? Right? So let's be clear. I have a college degree. You're earning one. I'm not just going to pay for you to go to college, right? That's not going to happen. You have to put in some sweat equity of your own. There's an earning of this that you have to do, right? So I'm not just going to be like, oh, well, I can afford to pay for your college, so here. No, not that easy. Not for me. So there is money available to go to college where we don't have to get student loans, through grants, through scholarships, through all those type of things. And a lot of that money goes unclaimed every year because people don't look for it. Right? They don't look for it because oftentimes, you're right, our counselors and everyone else goes into it telling you, okay, well, if you don't have any money, let's just get a student loan. Let's not do that. Right? So my first advice is to look for funding that gets you through college. And I know that some people have colleges they prefer to go to, like I really want to go to a HBCU, or I really want to go to Harvard, or I really want to go to whatever. Okay, I can't address how you get to that college if you don't get a scholarship. If you want to get a student loan to do that, then those are decisions you have to make. But getting a bachelor's degree, getting a master's degree, and getting a PhD, if you want to get a student loan and go to that particular school, I can't address that. But can you get a PhD from somewhere else through a scholarship or through grants or through other funding? Yes, you can. So the individual decisions are part of the process. I'll put the period there. So what do we do now that you have these student loans and you've racked up all this debt? Well, things are supposed to be a little bit different now than when I was in college, or maybe when you guys started going to college, because you're not allowed to get as much student debt as you used to get because of all the trauma that they've had with student loans.
Oh, wow.
So, students aren't necessarily getting, $50,000 or whatever just out the bat without guarantors or signers behind them. They're not just going to give it to the student. Now, if your parent signs for it, yeah, they'll give it to you. But then it's really you and your parent or a co-signer, like you had, Amber, somebody who can guarantor that debt. So they're being a little bit more cautious about how much they're giving to 17, 18, 19-year-olds when you're burdening them with these large amounts of debt. And President Biden is formulating new rules and laws for helping with student loan forgiveness. Unfortunately, the quickness of how some of that stuff gets resolved is not necessarily in your favor. Oftentimes, you're going to end up having to pay most of that down because you either have to qualify for these terms of debt forgiveness, or you're going to have to wait for them to create some scenario that makes you qualify. It's you can't file for bankruptcy and get your student loan forgiven. It's not eligible for bankruptcy. But one of the things that I would start out with is see if you can either get it discharged, if you can get it forgiven. Like I said, President Biden is formulating new rules because it's a big problem. Right. And so look to see if there's an avenue or if there's a venue for which you can do it. Now, the other part to that I would say is like, what kind of interest rates do you guys pay on your student loans? Are they high interest rates, like in the double digits or single digits?
One of them is single, and I think the other one is zero.
Oh, zero is good.
Yeah.
What about you, Amber? Are yours in double digits, single digits?
They're in collections, so I don't know. It's real. It's real in the streets. I've suppressed it long enough where I'm just like,
say it, just get it out.
Okay.
I'm at the stage now where I'm just like, okay, now they've gone to these collection companies, and now the collections are like, hey, knock, 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 knock. And I'm just like, please stop calling me. But I want to.
Actually, you can send them a cease and desist letter. I found that out on another podcast.
Yes,
you can send them a cease and desist letter to stop them from harassing,
from calling you. Yeah, you can tell them to stop calling you.
And so the thing is, I want to go, I'm at the place now where I'm like, okay, how can I strike some deals with some of these people? Like Sally Mae been after me for the longest, even though she tried to change her name and act like people don't know that it's still the same person. May, your name changed. Navian, whoever you
know who you
are. Sally. Anyway, so Sally changed her name. I know that's still that heifer. She got a wig on. Anyway, so I know who she is. I've let, and that's the thing too. I haven't gotten a grasp of all of my loans because they were just too much for me, to be honest. They were just too much for me. Too much was going on in my life. I just wasn't taking care of it. And it is like the most irresponsible section of my life. The student loans, not like credit card stuff, because it's like I had credit cards, paid that off, whatever. But it's just like student loans. They felt so heavy that I just let them kind of just like decay and just continue to be bad. So for me now, I think I just need to know, I don't even know where all of them are. Like, I don't know what the interest rates are for my master's degrees. I do have a handle on those. But for like undergrad, I don't even know what's going on. I don't remember what the interest rate is. It just, every time I see it.
Well, okay. So All right, but you have to know, right? So the thing about debt is we have to be responsible about our debt. So at the end of the day, the overriding concept is that someone paid for you to get educated, right? It would be whoever that lender is that paid for your education. So we don't get to skirt that, right? So they do it with the thought that, okay, we covered you, we had you, now you're just supposed to pay us back. So like I said before, I mean, I would always, of course, look into the concepts of, if you can get it discharged, if you can get it reduced, if you can get it forgiven, whatever type of terms that you can work out. If you don't qualify for any of those things, you can have the creditor stop calling you so that they don't have to harass you. But not paying them is not in your best interest.
It's not.
Yeah. So say again.
Oh no, I was gonna say, you could speak to this. There are things like the public service loan forgiveness, which I think, Amber, you will probably qualify for, because if you work for a public institution for 10 years, then and you pay the whatever that minimum is that you agree on paying, then they'll forgive all of your loans after those 10 years.
Right. If you're a teacher, if you're a teacher, there are terms and conditions under which they will forgive your loans. Like if you don't mind being in the education system, I think it's a 5-year minimum. You have to be in the education system and they will forgive your loan. So there's, if you're willing to meet those conditions, you can then qualify to have them. I mean, I can't speak to each individual one. There's just a list of things that you can do, but it would be worth researching to say, do I meet any of these qualifications to get my loans forgiven? Sorry, go ahead, John.
Oh no, go ahead.
So that we can't get away from them. We can just do what we can to, like I said,
manage them.
To get discharged. And I know President Biden is trying to assign some new legislation in regards to them to make it a little bit more manageable. Like I said, fortunately today, now our young people can't quite get in as much debt on their own without the backing of an adult or an individual. So those rules have changed. But where you guys are with the debt already there, it's about trying to figure out if for some like a 0% interest rate, you want to just pay that down. If your interest rates are higher, there's a couple of things that you can do. You can consolidate that debt through a personal loan or something else. If you have equity in your home, for example, you could always take out the equity, pay it off, and then it just rolls into like a 30-year mortgage. Just makes it cheaper for you in the short run. So there's ways that you can minimize that. And then you would just have a mortgage on your you have a mortgage on your credit, but all those loans would be considered paid off. So and then the quicker they get paid off and closed, then it takes 2 to 3 years for them to fall off. And then once they fall off, then it's like, there's no remnant of it anymore, because credit doesn't last forever. Accounts that are closed or paid off, they only stay on your credit report for a certain amount of years, depending upon what type of debt it is, somewhere between 3 and 7 years. If it's closed and resolved, they will remove it from your credit report and you won't see it at all. So the quicker we can get some of those things resolved, the better we are. I hope I answered that. Did I answer that question for you, Amber?
Well, yeah, we just need to, I need to deal with it. That's the first thing, is just having to deal with it. And that is an emotional decision more so than, a financial decision. Yeah. I think it's just because it's just been really a source of stress. And so one thing that you've been talking about is being responsible and having self-control and things like that. So for you, the other side of this, I feel like, is this whole emotional component to financial management. How did you come to, I guess, what advice would you give for people who are struggling to learn how to be responsible or in this specific thing, or learn how to have self-control? And what other things do you think might be involved in that?
I can tell you some of the things that I do. I listen to motivational and coaching things every morning. I listen to the Eric Thomases of the world. I listen to Tim Robbins. I listen to that guy who wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert
Kiyosaki, something like that. Yeah.
Can't remember how to say his name, Kiyosaki or whatever. I listen to them every day. I listen to the habits of successful people. I listen to that. I learn things that I might not know from a perspective that I'm not coming from. We all have our own point of reference, and those point of references aren't necessarily always good. Sometimes the advice our parents gave us ain't the best advice. And sometimes the roads that they've led us down aren't the best roads. So the first start is to be willing to open your eyes and ears to those who don't not just have something to say, but have demonstrated their ability to do that successfully. So every day I listen to something motivational and inspiring and educational to start out my day. Like when I start the day, I'm listening to someone who's telling me something about the importance of mind discipline and how people who are successful fail over and over and over and over until they get it right. But they have to keep trying. Like we're not just going to come out the gate and just be great at it. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to mess up. We're going to do stuff wrong. But when we do, we have to be mature to say, okay, what did I do bad in this situation? And what did I learn from the situation so that when I get up, I can do it better the next time. So the first point, be willing to be an ever-learning student, listening to others and open to taking advice. Second, well, I'll say that second. First, keep God first.
Right. That's
the Bible.
That's always the thing.
I should have said that first. So the Bible is a wealth of information. I can't tell you enough. People don't think about it that way, but the Bible has a perspective on responsibility and accountability, and how important it is to do so. If you start out by just reading Proverbs, listen, when I tell you Solomon
be breaking it.
Solomon gave some nuggets about
nuggets in there about money.
Basic fundamental things.
For
the
sure.
Concept of integrity, right? Your name has more value than gold or anything else. So then what you have to do is so you have to learn how to adopt a spirit and a concept that says, you know what? I want to do the right thing because it's the right thing. I want to have integrity, right? You begin to have purpose, and that leads you into the intent, right? You fortify that with counseling, someone helping you guide. Talk to people. Don't be afraid. Talk to other people. Get a mentor. Have somebody help you along the way. We are not islands in this. And we have to use our community. We have to have stuff like this where it's like, you know what? Hey, this is what's going on. I need some help. Find an accountability partner. Point 3, find an accountability partner, somebody that helps hold you accountable for the things that you say you're going to do. Right? If I commit to losing 5 pounds, right? There's somebody who, if I'm going to be bad, they're going to be like, Sandra, don't eat that. That's not going to help you. Did you work out today? Little things like that, believe it or not, Amber, help us to develop discipline. Part of the problem is we don't really start out disciplined. Once we become adults, when we become teenagers, and we figure out, you know what, I don't have to do what my mama and daddy said. I can do what I want to do. We tend to be irresponsible, right? We don't know because we don't see the end. So, but we end up becoming irresponsible, and we end up not having discipline. When at the end of the day, what's supposed to help us is the discipline. It's you know what? I don't necessarily need to satisfy every desire I have. Do I really need to buy that right now, or can it wait? Do I have to buy the name brand, or do I just need a pair of shoes? You know what I'm saying? It's those type of little decisions that when they compile upon each other, help us get there. So for me, it was a relationship with the Lord and reading his word. I mean, I've read the Bible, I think 4 times at this point. Read God's word. He actually has great counsel. And I would say when it comes to stuff like money, Solomon was supposed to be the wisest man. Read the book of Proverbs. It's only got 31 chapters, so pick a month. Read the book of Proverbs, and you will find tons of information, right? Okay. And then second, counseling from others, listen to people, coaching, gather information from others around you, and find someone to help hold you accountable for the things that you decide to do. Those are the top 3 things I'd say.
Those sound all doable. They sound like things that I think anybody from this can walk away with and start with those things. Can you say the 3 things one more time? This can be like a little tip. What are the 3 things we need to do, little small steps that we can make to get our financial footing?
Go to God, go to the Word of God, and read His Word so that you know what His will is for your life, right? And when it comes to money, I would strongly suggest Proverbs. Okay. 2, listen to the counsel of other people who have done it, are doing it successfully, not a random person, people who are doing it and have done it successfully. Use your community. We're in a social media age. Listen to the people who've done it successfully. And then 3, find someone to hold you accountable. Have an accountability partner.
There we go. Those are all doable.
Right.
Yo, real quick, I know we about to get ready to wrap up. Let's do this.
Yeah, we got to talk about
because there's so much more stuff we got to talk about.
Okay, so we got to talk about businesses, LLCs.
Yeah, so
so I ain't got time to tell you how to form an LLC, but you need one.
Right. So tell us the significance of, and maybe, I don't know, maybe we can do a part 2, or maybe the person that we talk to, because we're also going to talk to somebody else about real estate and all this other kind of stuff.
Right.
But tell us. Okay, so I can give you the position that I'm in. Right. I started my LLC. So I could even talk about how to start an LLC, like the steps, the process, the website that you go to, and all of that. There's other people that we could definitely talk to about that. But once you do that, right, once you start your LLC, once you get that going, because it's really not hard. Tell us the overall principle of what you said earlier. 2 things. Solomon said that a good name is better than silver and gold. That can be directly tied to owning your own business, because that's directly tied to what you said earlier. I'm poor, but my business is rich. I'm paying everything through my business. I'm doing everything. So you got Cassandra Lake, and you got Lake Enterprises, and you paying everything through Lake Enterprises. And then those things don't get taxed as much. And that's how you got people who got so much more money and they're not paying as much taxes, because everything they're doing is through their business. And literally every single one of us, me, you, Amber, we can all do that. I opened up an LLC in like a month, and literally now that I have it, I'm trying to figure out how can I pay my mortgage? How can I pay my bills? How can I do all of these things through my LLC, so that way I don't necessarily have to do it on my own, and I can have way more wealth, way more things, and then build that LLC to actually generate income so that I could pass that down to my child. Me and my homegirl was talking, and we were saying, wow, we're working for these universities, we're working for these people, and that's great, and you get checks, but we can't pass down the university of whatever to our child. We can't pass down Harvard to our child. We can't pass down, you know what I'm saying, where you were working to your child. Now you got your own business, so you can if you want to, Cassandra. But the places that we have, we can't necessarily pass those, the places where we work, we can't necessarily pass those things down to our children. And so my question is, how do we use these LLCs, these 501c3s, these separate businesses that we're opening up, so that we can have that strategy of, we're poor, our business is rich, is taxed so much lower, and now we have more money at our disposal? How do we do that?
So LLCs don't pay taxes. Corporations pay taxes. Individuals pay taxes. LLCs don't pay taxes.
Okay.
Right? So that's the first thing to know. You open up a business for tax protection. Okay. You run everything through your business so that your business pays for stuff. You give yourself a moderate salary so that you control what you get taxed. If I set my salary for my business, I can control what my salary is, which controls how much I get taxed. Right? Right. So the importance of creating a business is really for liability purposes. You create a business to separate you from any liabilities that may occur that you want to be protected from. For example, I own a couple of houses, and I want to be a landlord. If a tenant falls in the house or something happens in the house If I own the house, guess who they sue?
Mhm.
Me.
Mhm.
If my business owns a house, guess who they sue?
Mhm.
The business. Same would hold true if I buy a house and I cannot afford to pay that house. If I own the house, that goes on my credit. If I can't pay the mortgage, it docks my personal credit report, and now my credit score goes down. If my business owns the house and my business misses a mortgage payment, guess whose credit report is not affected?
Mhm.
Mine, right? Even if that house gets foreclosed on, guess who doesn't have a foreclosure on their credit? Me, right?
Mhm.
So owning a business protects us from all those things that we don't want in a very high level on our credit report.
Right.
I don't want, I mean, so this aspect of it where everything goes into my business is kind of where I'm more getting into now. I mean, I own houses, but now I'm like, I don't need to own anything. I need to be poor and my businesses need to be rich. So I'm just transitioning into that phase, right? But but the key is for our businesses to do all those things for us. Your business buys the car. If you can't pay for that car, then the business is the one who had the thing, not you, right? It separates and keeps you clean. If something goes wrong with that business, it's the business who takes the loss. It's the business who takes the suffer. Because at the end of the day, as an individual, you can own as many businesses as you want.
Mm.
Right? So I'm going to give you a good example. Something that I'm practicing now. I want to flip houses.
Mm.
I own real estate, but I want to flip houses. In consulting with other people, my other tip number 2, talking with other people who know how to do it. One of the best things they told me is, you need to have one business for houses you keep and put tenants in. You need to have a separate business that flips. You don't want to have one business that does everything, because if anything goes wrong in that business, they take the whole business down. So if I have a business that's for flipping houses, I have one business to flip houses. I have a separate business that keeps and holds real estate. If I wanted to, um, if I wanted to run a car rental company or whatever, that would be a separate business, right?
Right.
So you make sure that you have businesses that can individually be responsible for what you want them to be responsible for. But whatever we do it in business's name. If I want to buy a house, I'm going to buy my next house that I purchase. I will not buy another house in my name. It will be purchased by a business. The business owns the house, not me. When I buy a car, the business owns the car, not me. What does that mean? For tax purposes, the car note is written off as a business expense. The gas is written off as a business expense. Otherwise, I earned that money. I had to pay that expense. There's no tax benefit. If my business owns the car, the note for the car is tax deductible. The expenses on the car are tax deductible. The maintenance on the car are all tax deductible. Why would I pay tax on that income? So if I know my car cost me $10,000 a year in mortgage payments or whatever, why shouldn't I let my business pay that, reduce my income because my business paid it? I don't need to make the money to pay that. My business paid it. I can take my salary down. And when I take my salary down, guess what that means? That means I pay less taxes.
So how do you make your business pay these things? For example, with my LLC, right? I have that set up. Now, let's say something super, super simple, right? My car note, right? Well, my car is already in my name. So I would have to open up something in the business name and then put the
Yeah.
money in the business account and then write a check from the business account.
So, okay. So let's talk about the aspect of how your business runs. So I'm going to give you an example, and then you can just tell me whether this fits your example.
Right.
My company is called Financial Outsourcing, right? So I get paid through financial outsourcing. The next car I'm about to buy is going to be in financial outsourcing's name. Financial outsourcing is buying a car, not me.
Got you.
So financial outsourcing makes the money. Financial outsourcing
Oh, okay. I see.
gets money from my client, and then I pay myself. but the company makes money. So what
Oh,
I do is when the money comes into my business, you always have to have a separation of bank accounts, right? Your business has to have its own bank account. Your business has to have its own tax ID. You have to keep it completely separate from yourself.
right.
There's not, I even have it at a separate bank. Like my
Yeah,
personal bank account and my business bank account are never at the same bank. They're at totally different banks. So
right.
that if I have to move money, I have to do what in accounting we call an arm's length transaction. It has to be something that's traceable, right?
Right.
So your business makes money. Your business got a check. Your business paid the car note. Your business paid the gas. Your business paid the expense. After all that's paid, then you take money out. Because see, otherwise, what you would have had to do was take money out and pay it. But if
Love
your
it.
business makes money, your business made the money, pay it, and then pay yourself.
So is it possible then, or can it be so, like, for example, my business isn't making a lot of money right now, but like if I'm paying people to do something for me, right?
So do
Then
you
can I
operate as a business or
personally,
do you operate as a business or an individual?
so I operate mostly as an individual. But if I'm paying somebody to do something, can I put the money in my business account and then pay them and then write that off?
So the answer is yes, but depending upon what you're doing, you have to be contracted with that person. For example, so I'm trying to think of a scenario. Okay, so say, give me a scenario in which you would need to pay somebody.
Okay,
Like, what would you
so
be paying them for?
okay, so let's say for example, I have a lawn care business, right? And in this lawn care business, somebody pays me, Jonathan, to cut to have this yard cut, right? So then they
Okay,
pay me to cut the yard.
park it. No, first they don't. They don't pay Jonathan. They pay the business.
They pay the business. Okay.
Right. So you set up a contract with your business and that person, not with you.
Got you.
So this company has a contract with whoever that homeowner is or whoever that company is, and they pay your company. They're not paying John Grant. They're paying your company. So your company has to earn the money, and then you get money from that company.
Got you.
Now, if you pay money into the company, it's a contribution, right? You can always make contributions to your company, but at the end of the day, what you want is to operate as a company and let your company be the one who does those transactions. And then your company pays you. You don't want to be out there wheeling and dealing as an individual and then keep making contributions. You want your company to be wheeling and dealing. And the same way that people have credit, companies have credit. So you want your company to have a credit card. You want your company to establish credit so that when you go and apply for that auto loan, they grant it to your company.
Got you.
Because the same way that there's credit scores for individuals, Dun and Bradstreet is who governs corporate credit. And so they have their credit bureau called the Paydex, and that stores credit scores for corporations or business entities. So you still want a good credit score for your business. That's completely separate to you. Which is the benefit of if something goes wrong in your business. If your business ends up going belly up, you just dissolve that business, and guess what you do? You just start another one.
Gotcha.
Whereas if you're an individual, if those things happen to you as a person, it's attached to you for 10 years. Well, I don't need that. If I want to do something, let my business do it. If my business folds, I'll just start another one. Right. Because here's what I've learned, right? Every successful business person that I've listened to, every single one of them says the same thing. We've all started multiple businesses, and some of our businesses fail and some of them succeed. If a business fails, you learn what you have to learn and you start another one. Either way, you do it all as a business, not as an individual.
Not as an individual. Got you.
It's and then they all also say the same thing. You will fail your way to success until you figure it out and you get it right and you stop making the mistakes.
That's the second time I've heard that this week. You will fail your way to success.
Absolutely.
I love that. Man, it's so much more. Because I could talk about that part all day, but I know it's some personal things, and I don't want to make this all about me. So I'll go ahead and end it now. But I definitely need to just, I mean, I'm glad to be able to just holler at you and set up time to talk to you when I need to. So I'll definitely hit you up on that later. But with that being said, Amber, I know you want to take us into the takeout boxes because I know it's about that time to wrap up.
Yes, I just want to say thank you so much, Cassandra, for just breaking so many things down for us. I feel like this podcast is going to be significant to a good number of people. And I hope that we all can just have something that we really do take away from this so that we can change our lives. So we're entering the segment called the takeout boxes, where we just say, what are our major takeaways from this conversation? So I'll start again. My takeout box is that I have a good amount of relearning to do about the credit system, about my feelings about it, about what Dave Ramsey said, about just, I know this, but knew this before, but just having kind of a scarcity mindset or a poverty mindset and wanting to see how things can work for me and not against me. Because I feel like I've carried with me kind of the victim mentality around student loans, feeling very much like I was preyed upon as a teenager and just really feeling like, how am I going to get past this thing? And so I know that that's something I really need to work through. It's just feeling more empowered as a person, as an adult, now that I'm on this other side of it and recognizing like that was the past that happened. And now I want to, as an adult, work through the things that I feel like happened to me as a child, right? Because I'm just like, that I can't, it's no longer useful to do the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, and shouldas. They're not helpful anyway to me. What it is now is just like, how can I be empowered? How can I use this to my advantage? How can I leverage the information that I do know now to change my life? And it's not too late. It's not too late. I think that's the thing too. Even though, John, I think earlier you were just like, man, I'm in my 30s. I'm just learning this. And I feel like that's another message that we get a lot, is that I should have already known this. And it's just like, I want to make sure that we release ourselves of that too, or that we relearn that as well, that it's not too late to learn. It's timely for me to learn now. And what can I learn now? And what can I do now? And what can I do for my future? And so it's better for me to learn just today. And I'm thankful for what I'm getting today. And so I want to have a spirit of gratitude about everything that I learned today and about how I can change my life, change my financial story starting today. So that's my takeout.
Amen. I like that.
I love, I like all of what you just said, Amber. And even to extend that, and you're absolutely right. Like, some people don't learn this until their 40s and 50s and 60s. And so even though we didn't learn it as teenagers, we're blessed to learn it now. And we still have enough time to make a change, to create a better situation, for ourselves and our kids and our future kids, and, put ourselves in a position so that we can pass this down to them. And so one of my takeout boxes, everything you said even before that was so good, but when you broke that thing down about how there's certain places in the Bible that teach us this, like the 7 years of debt. Like, I never thought about that. Now I'm gonna go back, and I haven't read the Bible in a minute, but now I'm gonna go back and read Proverbs from like a perspective of money. Like, I know it says stuff about money, but now I'm gonna look at it through the lens of money now. You know what I'm saying? And like really, really begin to like understand it, not for greed purposes, because this episode isn't about greed. It's about, like, literally, it's our spiritual duty to be a lender and not a borrower. It is our spiritual duty to not be in debt. Not to say we got to have all this money, wear all these chains, make Gucci rich, make Louis Vuitton rich, make Bentley rich. It's not about that. It's about being able to help our community, to help our people, the people who contributed so much to Jesus's ministry and contributed so much to good in the world. A lot of them were people who had money. People like Abraham, who was crazy rich, Solomon, who was crazy rich, David, who was crazy rich. You know what I'm saying? People in the New Testament, Jesus' friends, some of them was crazy rich, and they helped make things better. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, you could be poor and do some things or whatever. Yeah, you could be like Dr. King, you was poor, you died poor, but you made this big change. But who really want to do that? Like, you can make a great change and have money. You know what I'm saying? Not just have money so you could ball out, but have money so that you can like really like create a better opportunity. Like the Bible says that, like having a better opportunity for your kids and your people and everything. So I like that, and I really love how you're helping me understand better about how to work my my LLC and how to work that so that it's separate from myself. You know what I'm saying? Because that goes back to that a good name is better than silver and gold. And I always thought that just meant, like you said, being a person of integrity. And you can be a person of integrity and have your name go places, but a name is also your business. You know what I'm saying? You can't hand down where you work to your child, but you can hand down your business with your name on it to your child. And a good business that's it. That's it. A good business is better than silver and gold because you can hand that down to China. Now China got this great business with this great credit score. She can do so much more. And if that thing falls, it don't affect China. You know what I'm saying? Same thing. It's like building that LLC, building that organization, build and learning how to work it that way. And so, I know some of this is like basic stuff, and then some of this is more advanced. But this is a life. This is like a journey that you go on, a financial journey of when you get to one step, then you get to another step, then you get to another step, then you get to another step. And so I'm grateful for these lessons. I tell people, take what you can out of here, put it to the side, and then come back to this in a couple of months. When you learn more, take some more, come back. And like you said, get you a mentor, get you somebody who's going to keep you accountable and responsible. Cassandra did that for me. She looked at my credit report and was like, and she told me some stuff that hurt my feelings, but she was like, I'm just trying to help you. And she did. And it helped me. And it was like, yup. It was a little embarrassing. She saw some stuff, but you got to be vulnerable. You got to be vulnerable to find somebody who you got to share it. And I was like, Cassandra, here it is. This is it. And she was like, okay. And she looked at it. She was like, you need to know this stuff. But then guess what? She helped me and she walked me through the process and said, do this, do this, do this. And it helped my situation. So don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Don't be afraid to find somebody who can help you and get you where you need to be financially. It's the best thing you could do for your family.
Amen. Wow. Okay. So here's my takeout box. I want to piggyback on those thoughts first. The Bible says a wise man leaves his wealth to his children's children. And so I'm gonna just icing what y'all said with that right there. And then my takeout. I think I started out just with the thought that I like kind of being behind the scenes, but my takeout from today, honestly, is that there really is a need and an opportunity as a community, and especially in the Black community, for us to come together and to share what we each know with someone else. Because, there are things that you guys know I don't know, and there are things that I may know that you guys probably don't know. But the opportunity and creating those situations and opportunities for us to get together and share that knowledge, for me, is a takeaway that I think I really want to help be a part of that. I love the fact that you guys are out there serving in the community, helping people be better, helping people grow. And, I told John, I was honored he even thought to ask me to do this, but I loved it. This was a great opportunity for me today. And I would love to do this anytime anybody asks, and create a space for us to share what we know, so that, when I know, everybody I know also needs to know, so that we can grow together. And then when we grow together, that makes us more powerful as a community. So that was my takeaway. Thank you guys so much for this. This was just such an honor for me. And I was humbled by the request, and it was just a great experience for me to do this today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. We are grateful for your willingness to share your time, your sacrifice. Sunday morning, this is the time for pancakes and waffles and sleep and chilling with family. And so you might sacrifice the thought of you sacrificing a pancake or two on my behalf and for our community who needs this financial guidance. It is honorable and it means a lot to us. So thank you so much for sharing with us. I know I'm not going to walk away from this conversation the same, and I'm thinking and calculating the different changes that I can make in my life this week. So you have definitely touched me. So thank you.
So where can people find you? I know you talked about financial outsourcing, that's your business. If people want to get in touch with you, like, how can they reach?
Oh, wow. I don't have a social media platform.
You think you don't have a social media platform?
I don't have a social media. No, I really don't. I mean, so financial outsourcing is my business, but it's my consulting business. So you guys are going to have to help me create a social platform. I don't have one, not for stuff like this. I mean, I did it because I love you guys and I know y'all. So I was like, sure, anytime. But I don't really have a social media platform where if people started messaging me that they could reach me. I mean, if you find me on Facebook, you can always hit me up and send me a messenger. I'm out there. Cassandra Lake. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn as well. But maybe you can help me get a social platform.
Email address is.
Oh.
Hey, Cassandra, you really don't be out here. You ain't got no email. How you make money?
I don't want nobody blowing up my email.
I feel you.
Look, hit me up on Messenger.
Okay, Cassandra Lake, Cassandra.
At Cassandra Lake at Facebook. We'll start there.
Okay.
And then you guys can help me create a social platform for that, because that might be a separate business.
That could be a thing. Ooh. Oh yeah, we can work that. Street Academy Podcast, LLC, helping people create. Hey.
Right. That would be a seperate business, because financial outsourcing, we got a job and a client.
So got you. Okay. All right, cool. Well, definitely.
But yeah, if you find, I'm on Facebook. I think my profile is public. Cassandra Lake. You can go find me. It's my face, me and my daughter.
Okay. Cool.
All right.
Listen, I'm not editing nothing out of this. I usually take stuff out to lower the time, even if it's long. All of this is needed. All of this is gold. So we're gonna keep all this in. You can watch some, come back, watch it again, but you need every word that came out of everybody's mouths on this episode. So with that being said, hearts and minds clear. How people feel?
Yep. Let's go.
Good. Another episode, y'all. Street Academy Podcast, where we keep one foot in the academy and one foot in the streets. And we are out.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Let's see. So we're gonna stop the record.
That got their feet upon the neck of the haters, the game and the devil like came in.